There's there's a crane next to it. You see the elevator on the outside there. If you're interested in moving to Nashville and getting a room on the riverfront, you can get the penthouse in that building. It's for sale still. It's $25 million. The rest of the floors in that building are $1 million a piece going down from the top, and half of that building is already sold. That's the Four Seasons on the riverfront. Well, we're going to cross back over the bridge, so hold on to those hats again. It's not going to be that breezy this time, but you'll get a great view of the pedestrian bridge on your right, the city, and also that event center there, the Ascend Amphitheater. You'll get a great view of it again on your right as we cross over. Again, on your right-hand side, that's Ascend Amphitheater at Riverfront Park. The amphitheater holds about 6,800, as I mentioned, from rock to jazz to pop to the symphony and more. You can catch some great shows there. If you live up on the hill here, you got free concerts on your balconies. That's a pretty good deal. Well, we're going to make our way back into the downtown area. Nashville's home to a lot of headquarters. You have Asurian Medical, you have Bridgestone Firestone, the Hospital Corporation of America. You also have Amazon downtown, too. We'll show you the buildings later. We're going to make our way up the hill here and back into the Broadway area. One of our larger hotels, I mentioned a little earlier, connected to the Country Music Hall of Fame. It's going to be on the right-hand side again. This is the Omni Hotel, 800 rooms in it. We're going to head up the hill here. We're going to go by the Music City Center. It's the 5th largest convention center in the United States. And we're going to make our way up to the top of the hill. You're going to see one of those paintings, the murals I mentioned. It'll be on your left-hand side when we go up the hill. And the painting honoring the Tennessee Titans and the 615 area code. Again, there's some beautiful murals throughout the city. You can go and Google the murals of Nashville and it'll take you all over. So coming up on our right-hand side of the stoplight is the Music City Center. It sits on 6 city blocks. It opened up in 2013 at a cost of $650 million. The building has the ability to collect rainwater off the rooftop and store it in a 300,000-gallon tank underneath the building. And every time the toilets are flushed, it recycles rainwater throughout the building. It also has 4 acres of grass growing on top of it. There's 2 gardens on top of this building, and in one of the gardens you'll find 4 beehives. There's close to 100,000 honeybees on top of this building on your right. Last year, they produced 365 pounds of fresh honey for the catering department. Now, even though the building cost $650 million, it has brought close to $2 billion to the city of Nashville in revenue since 2013. Some of that money went to a smart young man that did listen to his mother, stayed in art school, and designed this in front of you at the top of the hill. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is called Sticks. The artist got paid $750,000. We were told that it represents arrows that fell from the heavens, honoring the Native Americans. Sticks. I had nothing after that. Mother was right again. Coming up in front of us, the JW Marriott Hotel. Check this one out, 543 rooms. And if you look straight up there, that's a restaurant and bar up there at the top. And the cool thing about this building, too, is look at it on the left. It's shaped like a baby grand piano. So you got the big piano over there, you got drumsticks behind us. Coming up on your right, we're going to see the front of the building. The convention center is shaped like a guitar. So when you look to the right here down the hill, see if you see the image of this building looking like a guitar. The architect designed it to look like an abstract instrument on the hill here. Look to your right. See if you see it. See the shape? Pretty neat. A big old guitar. So Nashville is also known as the buckle of the Bible Belt. That means there's a lot of churches in Nashville. Last time we checked, there was around 600 churches and 599 bars. Over here on your left is the first Lutheran church, and that dates back to the 1850s. On your right-hand side, this is the old Customs House. It's been around since 1877. And across the street on the right, the building's going to look like a castle when you look at it. This was the first public school in Nashville in 1855. Became a high school. Now it's a magnet school in the top 100 high schools in the country. Betty Page, Dinah Shore, and Pat Boone all went to school there. Taylor Swift did a video for the song Tears on My Guitar inside that building. Underneath the building are 3 tunnels that were used during the Civil War to move people and equipment underneath the ground. That's the Hume Fogg Academic High School. As we turn on the left here on the Broadway, coming up on your left, in 1962, this is where Senator Robert Kennedy came to Nashville to ask some questions of a gentleman by the name of Jimmy Hoffa and some of his mafia friends, which also included 2 of my uncles from Connecticut. Over there on your right, that's the United States Federal Courthouse. Check it out, on the left. Over on your right, this is the Christ Church Cathedral. The Episcopal Church here in Nashville opened up officially in 1894. Notice the gargoyles over the doorways protecting the church from evil spirits. Well, we're going to continue down the hill here, and coming up on our left is a building that was opened in the 1930s. It's an Art Deco design building, which was appropriate architecture back in those days. But this building has not been the art museum all that time. It was the art museum moved in there 20 years ago. The building before that, look at the eagles on the doorways. This was the United States Post Office. On your left, this is the train station. Folks, been around since 1900, and then it became a 4-star hotel in the 1980s. That's the Union Station Hotel. On your right-hand side behind us in the corner, the tall glass building, that's the Amazon headquarters way back there. And on your right is a Sharian Medical. To your left is an area called the Gulch. The Gulch, named because of its geography. It has inclines. It's like a little valley area. Used to be the train gulch years ago. That's where you'll find some great restaurants and shops, and the famous Angel Wing mural to get your picture made down there. There's no paparazzi here in Nashville, so you might run into a celebrity down in the Gulch, like Lady Gaga, Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, Peter Frampton, and many others. You just never know. Over here on your right, 1200 Broadway, if you're interested in renting an apartment instead of buying a place, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, living room and kitchen, perfect view of McDonald's and the gas station. It's $11,000 a month in this apartment. These are luxury apartments on your right. 1200 Broadway. I need like 12 roommates. Make our way across the interstate here over to the northwest side of the city next. 17th Avenue, that's where the music industry started back in the 50s and 60s. That's where you'll find Rca Victor Studios, where Elvis Presley recorded. There's not much else to see down there. You can take a tour of the RCA Studios through the Country Music Hall of Fame. Now 16th and 17th Avenue start over here on the left at the stoplight, and you'll see over to the left the Orbison Studios. Roy Orbison's sons are songwriters and producers here, and that's their record label over there. Also, Music Row will lead you over to one of our popular universities here in Nashville, Belmont University. Well, one of the things we like to talk about is our Nashville hot chicken. What is it all about? Hot chicken recipe started 60 years ago. And thanks to Prince's Hot Chicken, they started it all. And what a hot chicken is, basically, it is the way you season the meat. Proper seasonings, hot sauces combined. And there's a whole bunch of hot chicken restaurants. There's one that's very popular too, like Prince's. They're called Patty B's. They have 6 levels of hot chicken. The mildest is called the Southern. But that's just basic seasoned chicken. It's not hot. Then they have mild, hot, medium. Then it goes to hot. Then it goes to damn hot. The hottest chicken at Hattie B's is called Shut the Cluck Up. That's flavored with the ghost pepper. They say it shuts you up after a couple of bites. Over here to your left, there's a big tall crane coming up. And right behind that crane, there's a green-looking building there on an angle. That's where Taylor Swift lives, on the top floor. Blake Shelton, Kenny Chesney, and also Gwen Stefani have apartments behind the Hampton Inn in that building. On your right-hand side, this is the Graduate. This is where you'll find Dolly Parton's white limousine bar at the top of the building. And on your left here, too, is the Catholic Cathedral, the Cathedral of the Incarnation. Schools in Nashville. I mentioned Belmont already. There's close to 15 universities and colleges in the greater Nashville area. On your left-hand side is Vanderbilt University. 340 plus acres. The university is surrounded by those beautiful magnolia trees. And thanks to a $1 million gift from Cornelius Vanderbilt and his wife in 1872, the rest is history. The university continues to grow. They took on the Vanderbilt name to thank them for their $1 million gift. They also took Cornelius' nickname, and there he is through the trees there on your left. Cornelius was known as the Commodore, so that's how they became the Vanderbilt Commodores. Over here on your right, coming up, this is the West End Cathedral, the United Methodist Church. 1947, this is where Sarah Cannon got married. You might not know that name, but you know the person she played. Her name on stage was Cousin Minnie Pearl, star of the Grand Ole Opry and the television show Hee-Haw. So we're going to pass Vanderbilt again here. Coming up on your left, you can see all the new construction going on. That crane over there, that building coming up in front of us, that's all brand new, folks. These are all new buildings on Vanderbilt, and they knocked down a few old ones to make some new ones again. Over here, you can see them working. And I can tell you, they're not worried about paying for any of this stuff, folks. Vanderbilt will be able to write the check, no problem, because tuition for the freshmen this year is $82,000. 13,000 students are registered at Vanderbilt University. And coming up on your left is the bookstore if you want to pick anything up over there. And the football stadium is behind this big tall building here on your left also. Vanderbilt's football stadium known as Dudley Field, named for the first president of the university. Now coming up on your right-hand side is Centennial Park. Centennial Park is where in 1897 they had the Tennessee Centennial Exposition. That was a celebration honoring the 100th birthday of the state of Tennessee. They had food, music, and buildings from all over the world represented, and one of the buildings the Nashvillians loved so much became the centerpiece of the park. And after several years of upgrades and renovations, it became a museum. On your right-hand side, you're going to see the largest replica in the world of the Parthenon. Now, the building is a museum during the day. They are closed on Monday, though. The museum is not open today, but the park is open every day. Parking is free over there. Inside the Parthenon is a 42-foot statue of the Greek goddess Athena. There's an art gallery, the photo gallery, that shows you photos of the celebration from 1897. We're going to take you around the park here and get you another view of the building. On your left here is the Commodore, the Holiday Inn. This is the Commodore Lounge. This is where you'll find the songwriter nights. Every single night from 7 p.m. to 11, you'll find songwriters in there performing the songs they've written for themselves, for their to sell, or for other artists. So check that out at the Commodore. On the right-hand side here, we're taking a ride by the grocery store in the South. They opened their doors in Memphis, Tennessee in 1916. Family-owned, family-oriented, the Piggly Wiggly. Also helped create the first known checkout areas. Coming up around the corner here, we're going to make our way up the hill. If you were to go straight up the hill here, you would find the city of Belmead. That's where all the mansions are. The Belmead Historic Site and Winery. You can take a tour of that building. And they raised Kentucky Derby winning horses on the grounds of that home years and years ago. Belmont University's out to your left a little bit. There's Trevecca, the Nazarene. There's Lipscomb University. There's Meharry Medical College, Fisk University. That's how we got the nickname the Athens of the South, based on the different philosophies of these different schools. Well, we're going to take a right here, and most of this area here is residential. This is where you'll be able to get a one-bedroom apartment for about $1,300 a month. Now, when the building of the Parthenon is open, it's a $10 ticket to go into the museum. Restrooms and gift shop are open to the public at no charge when it is open. They'll be open tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., just like the rest of the week. Parking on the grounds is free. You can go into the park today, though, and walk around, get some pictures if you like. There's also a lake on the grounds called Lake Watauga, named for the Watauga Indians. They were native to the Central Valley of Tennessee. Coming up on your right, we're going to have the Parthenon at Centennial Park. Again, the park is open to the public, but the building is closed on Mondays. And they'll open tomorrow at 10 a.m. Some really nice walking trails and flower gardens over there, too. We're going to make our way over to the Capitol next. Underneath those trees on your left-hand side, that's the largest dog park in the city of Nashville, Centennial Dog Park. One of the things people will ask us on this tour is, where can we get some fresh seafood here in Nashville? Well, folks, here's a heads up. Look to your right down the hill between the trees. You see that beach volleyball court down there? On your right-hand side there? That's the closest Nashville comes to the ocean. So, seafood's going to be very expensive downtown. But watch out for the trees here coming up on your right. We do get very close to them, so be very careful. We're going to make our way over to the northwest side of the city here. This is where we have Hospital Row. There's 5 more hospitals on this side of the city. We're going to make our way down Charlotte Avenue, which is known as Hospital Row. Coming up on your left, some more murals. There's a lot of paintings throughout Nashville. If you look to your left coming up here, you'll see some colorful stuff. That painting coming up on your left is known as the Gumdrops from Space, or A Morning After One of the Honky Tonks. Well, we're going to make our way over to the Capitol down Charlotte Avenue next. Great view of the skyline coming up in front of us here. When we go over this little hill here, folks, I want you to look to your left out in the field, and you'll see another mural. These paintings again show up everywhere. This one is honoring Merle Haggard, Country Music Hall of Famer. Check it out on your left. One of the great stories we get to tell you about on this tour is how Nashville got the nickname Music City, USA. It goes all the way back to 1866 when Fisk University opened up. Fisk was one of the first historic black colleges and universities downtown Nashville. And in the early 1870s, they started one of the first music programs at a university here. And out of that music program was born a traditional gospel singing group known as the Fisk Jubilee Singers. Well, they got so popular here in Nashville that they got invited to travel to London, England in 1873 to perform for the Queen. And that would have been Queen Victoria. So the young students traveled to London, performed for the Queen, and the Queen was so taken with that performance that she wrote a letter to the city of Nashville and to the university and sent it back with the students upon the return. In that letter, the Queen thanked the students for traveling so far. She thanked the students for their amazing talents. And she also mentioned in the letter, it's obvious that the Fisk Jubilee Singers traveled to London from a very musical city. So in 1873, thanks to Queen Victoria and the Fisk Jubilee Singers, that nickname stuck, and we got the nickname Music City, USA, because of that situation. The Fisk Jubilee Singers still perform as part of the school, and they won a Grammy last year. They won the Grammy for the Best Historical and Spiritual Group, Fisk University. We're going to make our way over to the Capitol here. We're not too far from a place called Marathon Village. The Marathon Village is where a car was built back in 1911 through 1918, the Marathon motor car. Now you can go to this building and check out the building because it's a museum, and they have several of the cars on display and a lot of history inside the building, but they also have all these little shops. And one of the shops is Antique Archaeology, the American Liquor Store. There's also a gourmet candy shop, a coffee shop. There's several other Nashville-type shops. There's a distillery. There's a moonshine company. And there's also a winery over there at Marathon Village. And I'll point out where that is here in a little bit. Great place to spend an afternoon. They're usually open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Coming up on your left-hand side, these homes over here on your left, they sit on the old rock quarry. A rock quarry is where they got the stone and rock to build the Capitol, and several of the buildings. Those are actual pieces of the Capitol on your left-hand side. And if you took a left around the corner here, you'd find that Marathon Village right down the street here behind the homes. And if you're going to go over there to do any of the drinking or the alcohol or tasting, you might want to get some food in you before you go. On your right, Jack's Barbecue, one of the best in the city. Jack's has got 6 different sauces. His meats are chicken, smoked turkey, also brisket, pulled pork, ribs, and Texas sausage. So check out Jack's. Jack's Barbecue is also on Broadway in between all the honky tonks. We're going to make our way underneath the bridge and go through the north side of the Gulch. There's several shops and restaurants on this side, too. It's not as busy as the south side, though. There's a lot more on the south side of the city. This area is a little more residential for the Gulch. Yeah, just watch it. No problem. So we're going to head up the hill there in the Capitol's a little bit to your left, straight ahead. And again, this is the north side of the Gulch. You'll find some restaurants and little shops just around the corner to your left here. And the south side is over to your right, about 3 blocks. Well, underneath the train bridge coming up on your right-hand side is going to be the Avon Williams campus of Tennessee State University. They graduated somebody you might have heard of by the name of Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey went to high school over in East Nashville, and then she went into Tennessee State University. In the 1970s, she got her first job on television over at the Channel 5 News building. And the rest is Oprah's history for sure. Channel 5 not too far from here. But coming up in front of us, folks, at the top of the hill is the Tennessee State Capitol. The Capitol was officially finished in 1859, and it was designed by an architect from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, named William Strickland. The Capitol took around 14 years to build, and it cost about $800,000. Now, William Strickland, the architect, was very proud of his design of the Capitol. So proud of it that he asked the city of Nashville if he could be buried on the Capitol grounds after he passed away. Now, sadly, he did not live long enough to see the building finished, but they did honor him with his funeral and memorial service up on Capitol Hill, and they did bury him up there, but it was not in a traditional grave. Since the building was still under construction, and they knew how much he loved it, they actually buried him in the wall they were still working on. His tomb is in the north wall. He became a part of his own design. The Tennessee State Capitol is one of 12 in the United States that does not have a golden dome. And you can have a view of it coming up on your right. On the other side of this building in front of us is where you'll find Bicentennial Mall Park, celebrating the 200th birthday of the state of Tennessee. The Farmers Market is behind that building, the Farmers Market Food Court, the Tennessee State Museum, Germantown. There's a map of the state of Tennessee in front of the train bridge coming up. There's 31 fountains that you'll see on your left, honoring the 31 waterways in the state of Tennessee. It's just a great place to spend an afternoon. Parking is free, and the museum is completely free. It's one of the best museums in the city. Now, this is the other museum that is closed on Mondays. But the food court and farmers market is open every day. This is Bicentennial Mall Park. Now, the museum will be open tomorrow at 10 a.m. until 5. And on your right-hand side here, folks, this is the Tennessee State Capitol. Great view of the park there on your left. In front of that bridge there, that's the map of the state of Tennessee. You could walk across. It's really neat. And underneath to your left is the farmers market and all those other attractions. We're going to make our way up to the Channel 5 News building next. That's where Oprah had her first job. So coming up on your left here, between the trees as we go up the hill, is the Channel 5 News building. That's where Oprah's first official television job was. And it's also the television station that debuted in 1969, the television show Hee Haw. Hee Haw started in this building coming up on your left, ran for 22 years on television. The country comedy musical variety show for several years was done out of this building coming up on your left. Channel 5. Coming up on your right-hand side is Municipal Auditorium, home to the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum. This museum covers every genre of music you could think of. And the auditorium opened up as the first air-conditioned large building in Nashville in 1962. Elvis Presley, Bob Dylan, the Jackson 5, and many others performed in here over the years. They still do sporting events and concerts in here on your right. It holds about 8,500 people. Check it out over here, too, and see if you went to any of these shows back in the day. These are really cool concert tickets on your right. I like the ticket prices. It was only $10 to go see Elvis Presley in there. $6 to see the Jackson 5. Pretty neat. We're going to make our way back down the Broadway, Honky Tonk Highway. A lot of printing was done in this area. The building coming up in front of us is the Old Baptist Convention. This is where they did a lot of religious printing. And Printer's Alley is up the road here. Printer's Alley is where you will find all the blues and jazz clubs now.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, get him. Way cooler back here. Come here.
Yeah, I'd wait till the bus stops before I move up there. Be careful.
Okay, I'll come back.
Now watch out for the trees on your left-hand side here, folks. Be very careful there, too.
Hold on, Jack. Johnny?
So if you have time and you're downtown for a few days, you might want to try these, check out these side streets. This is 4th Avenue. We're going to go by the oldest restaurant in the city of Nashville. It's been around since 1907. It's called Varallo's Chili Parlor. It's going to be on your right-hand side. They do breakfast and lunch, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday. Varallo's has been in Nashville since 1907. We'll see that here in a minute. Now, if you look to your left here, you'll see on the side of the building there, if you look to your left straight up there on an angle, you'll see it painted on the building, Printer's Alley. That's where the blues and jazz clubs are. Again, years ago, it was where a lot of printing was done.
Go here. Back here. Here, let me see.
Also coming up on your left at the top of the building there's a bus on top of the building there. If you look to your left up, you'll see the bus coming up on your left. It's on top of the Omni Hotel. It's a restaurant and bar coming up here on your left-hand side. On your right-hand side is Varallo's Chili Parlor, as I mentioned. Open Monday through Friday. And coming up on your right also is the first mall in the city of Nashville. It opened up in 1903. It's called the Arcade. It was designed after the mall in Milan, Italy. Now be on your right-hand side. There's all little restaurants and shops and a few art galleries in this mall also. So Varallo's Chili Parlor on your right and the Arcade, the mall on your right. Coming up on our left, you'll see the Wells Fargo sign. And if you look down the hill to your left, when we pass by it, you'll see Skull's Rainbow Room. That's the oldest blues club in Nashville. They've been around since 1948. And again, on your right here, the Arcade, the mall. So on the other side of these buildings on your left is the area known as Printer's Alley. And that's where, it looks like a street in New Orleans over there, and that's where the blues and jazz clubs are. Maxwell House coffee was poured on this corner for the first time many, many years ago. The old Maxwell House Hotel used to be on your right. They got their slogan from Theodore Roosevelt when he was staying at the hotel. He told them their new coffee was good to the last drop. The Maxwell House Hotel originally it was over on the right-hand side here, but it burned down in 1961, and they moved and remodeled on the other side of Nashville. On your right, the LNC building. This building was the first tall building in the state of Tennessee in 1957. This was the first skyscraper in Tennessee. When we go to the stoplight here, too, folks, look to your left down the hill and you'll see Printers Alley. So we're going to make our way down to Broadway again, Honky Tonk Highway. We'll go by the Batman building again. It's going to be on the next corner on your left when we get down the hill here at the next stoplight. We'll also be passing the famous Ryman Auditorium. The Ryman was the fifth home of the Grand Ole Opry radio show from 1943 to 1974. The Grand Ole Opry performed at the Ryman Auditorium. The Ryman was originally a church, though, from 1892 on. The Ryman was known as early on as the Union Gospel Tabernacle. The acoustics of the Ryman Auditorium are second to the Mormon Tabernacle, surpassing Carnegie Hall. Coming up on your right, you'll see the statue of Thomas Ryman and the statue of Little Jimmy Dickens, star of the Grand Ole Opry. This is the Ryman Auditorium on your right-hand side. Jack's Barbecue's right around the corner where all the honky tonks are. Merchant's Restaurant on the corner there in front of you, pretty good too. And you're going to find a lot of great music and food for sure. And you can hear it already here on Honky Tonk Road. Over to your left, you got Savannah's Candy Kitchen. If you got a sweet tooth, also up the hill on 3rd Avenue, you'll find legendary milkshakes. On 3rd Avenue on your right, the Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline museums. You'll also find the Florida Georgia Line Bar and Grill, the Big Machine Distillery also. Over on 2nd Avenue, you've got the Glen Campbell Museum coming up on your right-hand side. And to the left down the street, you'll find the Wild Horse Saloon, the George Jones Museum and Restaurant. There's a Taco Bell Cantina on 2nd Avenue. There's Mike's Ice Cream and Coffee Shop down there, too. So keep that all in mind as you experience downtown Nashville. We want to thank you for hanging out with us on the Nashville City Tour. Make sure you have all your personal belongings with you before you make your way off the bus. Wait until the bus stops before you make your way downstairs. Those folks that have the chairs downstairs will let you off the bus last. So keep that in mind so we can get everybody by you. We'll open the back door for you. And, we want to thank you for being with Miss Dimple and myself, John. If you have any questions at the end of the tour, please feel free to ask us. And again, wait until you Know the bus is stopped completely before you make your way downstairs.